This is episode 16 of Post Production Podcast. Hello and welcome, all you wonderful people out there. Thank you for listening to Post Production Podcast, where we talk about the latest in movie and TV shows, sometimes going back in time and stepping on the nostalgia. I am your host, Mr. Drew, and with me, of course, is my co-host, Adam.
What's up, Drew?
So we recently went and saw a new release movie called Den of Thieves.
Den of Thieves, yes.
And it wasn't a top kind of priority movie, but I thought it would be fun for us to kind of look at a little bit of old and a little bit of new. So we watched Den of Thieves, and then you actually saw for the first time the 1995 release of Heat.
Yes.
Which is by far like on everyone's top 10 list of best heist robbery movies of all time.
Exactly.
So we got to kind of now a little comparison to do.
Yes, there are a lot of similarities between the two, and I've heard of Heat. I've never seen it until now, but watching them basically back to back, there's so many similarities, and I think Heat really set the standard for heist movies back in 1995 because so much of the movies that have come out since that I've watched, a lot of them kind of reflect at least somewhat on Heat. A little bit, and I think Den of Thieves absolutely has a lot of similarities. But what did you think?
I've seen Heat multiple times. Watching Den of Thieves, it didn't really click with me as far as how parallel almost the two movies are. You have multiple things going on, but you basically have a big score. And the interesting thing that I thought was the parallels was, you had the main, you're kind of your main go-to. You had your main good guy. So in Den of Thieves, we had Gerard Butler playing Lieutenant Vincent Hanna. And I got those mixed up.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Al Pacino plays Vincent Hanna and Gerard Butler plays Big Nick O'Brien in Den of Thieves. Sorry, my eyes are crossed on my screens. But I thought it was interesting, the parallel where in both movies, you have this kind of antagonistic, I'm the head of my crew, you're the head of your crew, we're going to meet, we're going to kind of size each other up, we're going to kind of, who's bigger, who's badder, who's smarter, here's the playing field, let's see who's the better person.
It was interesting, and I think that Den of Thieves really tried to be Heat in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I think it fell short in a lot of ways too. Because at the bare minimum, it's an okay movie, I think. I probably won't see it again. But Heat is a classic, and there's quality in places where Den of Thieves lacks, of course. Like the actors, you're not going to get better than Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Well,
the cast in Heat is massive.
It is.
You have Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer, Jon Voight, Tom Sizemore, Ashley Judd's in there, Natalie Portman's in there.
Natalie Portman, which I was
as a kid,
surprised. She's been good since she was a kid, though. Yeah. She's been really good. Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo's in it. Yeah, it's just a massive cast.
It's a really great cast too, and they have a lot of chemistry. They have they're just believable, And Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, you see them in a million different roles, but they just fade into that role so well. I love Robert De Niro's character, and I was rooting for him the whole way. And yeah, there is very, those similarities between Den of Thieves and Heat, where you're following the main. It's funny because who's the protagonist and who's the antagonist? That's the real question. Right. And you're just following both of them. Both of them can be either, basically. And that's what's so interesting about it. But the problem with Den of Thieves is Gerard Butler's character, I absolutely just hated, from the get-go. I hated him so much. But when you
he's just a scumbag.
He's a scumbag, and I think they try to make you feel bad for him, but it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work. And it was uncomfortable to watch because he's when he comes home to his wife, and then she finds out that he's been cheating, and he's awful, and the whole scene, I like, it was a really dragged out scene where she's like taking the kids.
Spoilers, by the way.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
Not that we care, but
yeah, not that we care, but but like, it's just like classic movie trope where you're trying to have empathy for a character that doesn't really deserve it. Like, I just didn't feel that.
It's like they tried to humanize,
this monster, like
this guy who's
idiot,
just a total, just scumbag.
Yeah, he's terrible. And
the way he goes about his, I don't know if cops can do whatever they do in this movie, and the carte blanche and just the kind of the recklessness and the freedom for them to just do and act and conduct themselves in however manner that they want.
You don't want to root for him.
And it's like, you don't want this guy to win.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting, the parallel that Heat had, because you had Al Pacino's character, and they both went through the same thing. They both have struggling marriages, and I thought the interesting thing is that where Gerard Butler was concerned, he purposefully ruined his marriage, because he's just a scumbag.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not gonna feel bad for him. Like, he knew what he was doing, and like, so he has 2 kids. Like, okay,
great role model.
He goes to his daughter's elementary school and is like, "Oh, I'm gonna see you soon," and he's all crying in his car, and I'm like, "Can we move on?" Like, I really don't give a like. I don't care.
It's like, those aren't real crocodile tears.
Yeah,
crocodile tears.
Come on.
Yeah.
And he, like, for the first 4 or 5 scenes we see Gerard Butler, he's stuffing his face, and you can't even understand him. Like, he's like,
I know. Yeah,
he's talking with his mouth full,
yeah.
and I'm just like, can you put it down? Just talk normally.
Yeah.
And it was just very odd to me.
I thought it was interesting that I don't know if Gerard Butler smokes in real life, but he didn't.
A lot.
He didn't. Well, he smokes a lot in this movie, but it didn't even look like
It was actually.
He was actually smoking.
Yeah, no, I caught that too. I'm like, are you gonna inhale or what?
It was weird. It was like it was these little tiny puffs, and it's like, that's not how you smoke. Yeah.
I don't even smoke. Yeah. And I know that's not how you smoke.
It was really weird. It was weird to watch. Yeah, it was weird to watch.
Whenever you see a character smoke a lot, at least for me, I always compare it to Mad Men, because every single scene in Mad Men. Have you seen Mad Men? It's so good, but it's in the 50s or it's in the 60s.
Right.
And
everyone smoked in the 60s.
Everyone's smoking. Yeah. Right? I kind of attribute it to that, but I was like, man, this is almost as bad as Mad Men. Like, but this guy is not even smoking, and it took me out of the movie.
I know.
Like, it was like, okay.
And I don't know if, this is just criticisms. Yeah. I don't know if Gerard Butler has massively big, giant Mickey Mouse hands, or they've found the tiniest cigarettes possible for him to smoke, because it just looks so it just looked out. He
looked massive.
It looked weird.
Movie.
Yeah,
He looked very I don't know, just pumped. But in a bad way.
Yeah.
Like, in a
broad, but not it was weird.
Yeah, no.
But
Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr., he's in this movie. He's Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
And he's okay. He's not anything special, I don't think. I don't think he's a spectacular actor. I loved him in Straight Outta Compton. Did you see that one? Or
no
interest?
No interest in that.
I love that movie. I think it's good. And I think, I don't know, but
anyways,
give it a shot. Anyway, that's my recommendation. But yeah, he's okay in this movie. Nothing too special. Who else is in this movie that, really sticks out? 50 Cent is in this movie.
50 Cent's in it.
He's not really in it. Really.
He's not really. He's just like this background character.
He's just there. He's kind of
one of the best. I think one of the best scenes in the movie is when this guy comes, this high school kid comes to his house to pick up his daughter, and he for prom, and he's like, hey man, let me talk to you, and he takes him off to the side into the garage, and all his gangster bros, these big massive guys are standing in this room, and this kid's just like, scoop. That was like one of the best scenes in the movie, and I was like, okay, that was funny.
Yeah, it was like really funny scene, but it had nothing to do with anything.
No.
And 50 Cent wasn't even a main character, and that was the first time you meet his daughter too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, like, you're not invested at all. You're just kind of like, oh, this is funny.
Yeah, you don't care if this person lives or dies.
This is like a little YouTube
like,
video.
Yeah.
This is just like hilarious. But right after that scene, it switches gears into another serious tone. It's just kind of odd to me.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, the main guy, Pablo Schreiber, who plays Ray Merriman, who's like supposedly like the mastermind thief, he's so cold. You don't have any connection or any kind of understanding as to why this person is the way he is.
Yeah, there's no character development. It's just like, this guy's hard and this guy's
he comes from prison and he's got tats and he's very intelligent and he's tough somehow. And he's cold and
you don't really know how he got this way or how he's been planning this or
it's just really
why he has this kind of infatuation with robbing the National Reserve Bank. It's just, I don't know. It's more of a macho thing than anything else, I think. I think it's like, oh, no one else has done it, so we're going to do it kind of thing. Yeah. I don't think it's anything more than that. And so coming to the end, because there's 2 hours of, it's whatever. But spoilers for the end of the movie.
You know, some of these heist movies, I love the ingenuity that the writers and the creators of these movies show sometimes, you know, because they take you and, you know, heist movies are sort of like magic. It's a lot of misdirection, you know, show you one thing, do another. But where some of the movies really excel at kind of having this great plot twist and this kind of interesting design on how everything works. In this movie, it's so unbelievable that all of the timing of all these different things had to happen perfectly. Yeah. And it's like, that's just not, there's no way to plan that out. And you can't like force these kind of random elements to like hit certain time points. Yeah. So it's not very believable.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And that's my problem with it is, you know, they give you this explanation at the end of how everything went down. And basically all of the gang members or crew members, they all basically get shot in this huge gunfight, which the gunfights were actually not bad. I thought they were decent.
The gunfight was all right. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. You know? But for a gunfight, I mean,
but it was okay. All right.
You know, basically, you have Donnie, O'Shea Jackson Jr. He basically escapes from Gerard Butler's car, and you find out that he planned to be captured. He planned to be this kind of backseat kind of mastermind while Merriman takes all the credit, and it kind of goes through all the things of how it happened, and I just felt like it was not explained very well. I don't think Donnie was a believable character as to being this mastermind because, and I guess that's the point, you know, is that you never suspect that he's anything more than a driver, apparently, but I don't know. I just felt like that explanation at the end where, you know, they kind of show you that he knew all these people because he worked at this bar and all these people worked at the National Reserve and this and that and kind of helped coordinate this whole thing. And this was a whole bunch of planning over months, but it didn't seem like he had the capability of doing any of that. Right. You know?
I mean, they really didn't give you any kind of backdrop. I mean, they show you this brief picture of kind of where he met his crew and it had to do with soccer or something like that. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that you don't really find out till the end that the bar that is kind of like one of the pivotal backdrops to everything that's going on is right across the street from where all this is taking place, where the robbery is. And you know, they don't give you any kind of that tie-in. But I mean, even after, you know, they kind of reveal everything, you know, I mean, Donnie plays a great character, just kind of being like a nobody who just, he may be able to drive good because he looks like he grew up, you know, doing that kind of stuff. But as far as being a brilliant kind of strategist and kind of getting all these things, you're going, I don't get it. I don't. There's something, you need to give me something more that would make me go, okay, I get it. Yeah.
It's this kid who's a bartender, like But yeah, I think Heat, like the opening scene in Heat, going back to that, where they ram the armored truck, and that reminded me a lot of Den of Thieves. Is when that's like the opening scene, is they kind of ambush this armored truck, and then of course something happens in that whole interaction where the new guy, or not even the new guy, but one of them shoots,
and then it escalates.
It escalates, and there's all these people, and now they have to kill. Very similar in those scenes, but Heat was that whole scene was, it was suspenseful. It was kind of edge of your seat action, and it grabbed me from the start, and that's how I knew it was gonna be good. Just seeing kind of how that all played out, and
well, I thought the really interesting thing about that is you get this opening scene of this kind of armored truck jacking, and it goes sideways a little bit. It's very, very intense, but at the same time, a couple minutes later, now Al Pacino shows up and he deconstructs the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he like kind of explains things that you wouldn't really kind of think of trying to, kind of delve into.
Yeah.
And then it just expands the scene even more on why it was such a good heist and why it was such this. And that kind of tie-in was certainly lacking from Den of Thieves. You just don't really kind of...
Well, you don't believe that Gerard Butler is going to do anything.
Yeah, he just kind of shows up, eats a donut, and then starts having a dick fight with another cop. Yeah, with the FBI, and it's there's no reason for that.
I was scratching my head at that scene, like just like facepalm, like seriously, like that was the worst. And as soon as they started talking about whatever they were talking about, I was like, wow, I'm just in for a ride. I knew what to expect at that moment from the dialogue in this movie. I just was utterly disappointed in that. And just like, Gerard Butler as a character in this film is very awkward. He makes very weird remarks. It just was very uncomfortable dialogue. Like, just no one talks like that. And he would like make a weird remark. It'd be awkward silence, and then he'd just like move on to something else. But it would be awkward. And I guess, maybe that was his character. Maybe that was intentional, but I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was very poor writing.
Very poor writing, definitely. Another heist movie that I kind of want to bring up, we don't have to talk about it if you don't want, but I just saw this and I had mentioned it, but Logan Lucky, would you consider that like one of these heist movies? I mean, I mean,
it has all the elements of that. I haven't finished it.
You haven't finished it?
No, I got about 3/4 of the way through. And then I got sidetracked and I still haven't, for some reason, gone back.
Oh. Okay, before we continue this conversation, you need to finish that movie because it gets better and better towards the end. And I think the end really pays off. I just really enjoyed that movie, and it's a different feel. It's not as serious. There's a lot of joking.
Well, there's a lot of comedy in it.
A lot of comedy, but it makes it even more enjoyable, I think. But at its core, it is a heist movie, and I think in that regard, it's really, really, really good. So for anyone listening, check out Logan Lucky, because it definitely was one of the most original and most underrated of 2017, because I didn't watch it. I literally just watched it the other week on an airplane, and it was great. And I was thoroughly enjoying it. So definitely get into that. But yeah, what else can I say about Den of Thieves?
Not much.
With Heat, they kind of have this respect for each other.
Right.
But I don't think there was that kind of thing with Den of Thieves. And the whole sizing up kind of thing when they're in Den of Thieves, when they're at the gun range, the shooting range, and they're kind of just showing off. Like, that was kind of it was kind of cool, but kind of weird. And I didn't really understand what the whole point of any of this was.
Well, it didn't make any sense for Gerard Butler's character to keep antagonizing and kind of showing it. It's like do you want them to do something so you can catch them? Or you just want to scare them off, and then they're just going to walk away from whatever.
Or do you just want to mess with them? Like,
it doesn't make any sense, I mean.
And then, like, did he sleep with his girlfriend or his sister? I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell if it. I'm assuming it's his girlfriend.
Yeah,
because they were sleeping in the bed together later on.
Yeah, never mind.
But it was just you don't know. Like she's there in prison when he gets out. Okay, but then it's
also
weird.
because I didn't realize that was the same person as in the beginning when they were at the restaurant, at that hibachi restaurant.
Yeah,
that girl, because the way they filmed that, and I think the filmmaking also lacks a lot of quality too, because the way that they kind of frame things, like when they showed the shot of her, it didn't seem like she was at the same table. And I know that hibachi restaurants are kind of like that, but it didn't even seem, I felt like we were looking at like a stranger, like at another table, like being uncomfortable with their conversation. That's
right.
what it kind of seemed like. And also, I think what really gave me a red flag, even before the movie started, was all the trailers that came out that before the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, these all look like shit. And they're from the same production company. As soon as I saw the same, what is it, like SDX or something like that? Some weird.
That's where you get kind of a preview of, it's going to be this kind of movie.
Oh, it's going to be this red box movie kind of thing.
It's a red box experience. Yay!
Yeah, no.
The theater was red. The seats were red. No. Okay.
But I mean, going back to my experience watching The Heat, it's a fantastic movie all around. It's a long movie.
It is a very long
movie. It kind of goes in acts: Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I mean, so does every movie, but this one kind of more so in the kind of storyline with Al Pacino's character and his family dynamic, and Natalie Portman comes into that in the beginning and then more towards the end as well. I thought in the beginning, like when Natalie Portman's like real dad wasn't showing up, I thought that was going to be Robert De Niro. I thought it was going to kind of
that was going to be the tie-in?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a tie-in, but that's more of a modern thing than back then. Like it was, that probably would have taken away from it, I guess, but
I'm glad they didn't, because that would have been like, okay, no, that's
way too connected.
That's too quinky dinky.
Yeah. But that's more of a modern thing. Like that's what would happen in one of these movies now.
And this is where it was interesting as far as a believability standpoint of a struggling marriage, because where Den of Thieves is concerned, Gerard Butler is just this scumbag, cheater, partier, drinker, drug user, cop. And, he just self-destructs, basically,
He's doing that all to himself.
Yeah, he's doing it all to himself.
He's the problem.
Where Al Pacino's character comes in and he explains this, in the movie, but, his wife is having a very hard time dealing with the fact that when he comes home, he's not really there because he has to disconnect himself so much.
Yeah.
He lives with the darkest element of our society.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has to see all these things every day.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can come home and go, hey, honey.
How was work?
Tell me about your day. It was fine. I just saw a baby get microwaved and, but it was good. It was whatever.
And that's where, that whole element is really interesting and really important to that movie, because it really gives you some insight into Al Pacino's character. And, and this is the whole respect your kind of enemy thing. Is there's a scene with Jon Voight and Robert De Niro, and they're talking about the detective, and they're kind of going over his background. He was married twice before this, or 3 times.
Yeah, 3 failed marriages.
Exactly. And, and it's not because of any of these other things. It's because
he lives his job.
So is this the guy that you really want to mess with? Yeah. And for 95, I would say the gunfights are great as well. The action's really good. I was talking to someone who had mentioned it was like one of her favorite movies, and she was saying that it looks kind of dated, like the effects look kind of dated, but all I could really see were like kind of some green screen stuff.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, it wasn't that bad. And
the only thing that you see that's dated is the cars.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you notice on any movie that goes back. It's like, oh, okay, then,
cars and Val Kilmer's haircut.
Yeah. Val Kilmer's haircut.
And their kind of style.
The clothing, the styles, the cars, everything else is pretty much timeless. But it's interesting, and even the gunfight scene in both movies are almost parallels because they're both doing cover fire kind of tactics, and
they're kind of chasing,
and they're kind of chasing. And the interesting thing is you get a little bit of a background in Den of Thieves because all these guys were military. Yeah. And that's kind of, and that's how you fire and you cover while your buddy retreats. He takes up position. He says, go, you run while he covers you. And, there's these two parallel scenes. But, the interesting thing is that in Heat, these guys are in downtown LA. Yeah. In big open streets and kind of like, there's buildings and everything, and there's not really a lot of places to run and to take cover. But in Den of Thieves, they're in this double lane of parked cars, traffic blocked. Mm-hmm. There's shitloads of cover.
Yeah.
There's tons of cover. How are you getting shot? And,
how are you in like the perfect center of this row of two cars to get shot? I
was just like, this doesn't make any sense.
You're ex-Marine.
And then you open it up with a 240 saw, which is a massive gun.
Yeah.
But then you dump the entire thing and then you toss it out. Well, then what was the point of even having it?
Yeah.
Because that's a suppressive weapon. That's a weapon that everyone else is ducking while you fire that thing. You could have sat there and fired it, and your two buddies could have ran and gotten away, or took up better positions to cover you. And then whatever, it didn't make any sense.
They're not that smart.
Yeah, I was
the writers
I was deconstructing that and going, yeah, this is just bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but both, very, very intense scenes.
Yeah. But I love the scene at the end of Heat where, because he says this kind of, what do you call it? Like a slogan.
He has a creed.
Like
he has a creed. He has a creed where, I guess his mentor or whoever taught him, was like, hey, if you're going to be in this line of work, you have to have disconnections. You can't be tied down. If you can't walk away from everything in your life in 30 seconds, then you don't have the right...
When the heat is around the corner.
Yeah, when the heat's around the corner, you don't have the right mindset. And, you're kind of feeling for De Niro's character because, throughout the beginning of the movie, he's just a loner. He's just...
Well, you see that he is that.
Yeah.
He really takes that to heart.
He has no ties. Mm-hmm. His apartment's empty. There's no furniture.
Yeah.
He's just all about the business and all about kind of this long-term goal of his. And then he meets this woman and you kind of see him sort of, he starts to, double think about the things that are important to him.
Yeah.
But at the very end, he's standing, and it's a brilliant scene, because he's standing outside, or he's just finished what he needed to do. He comes down and he's standing there and he's about to get in the car with this girl, and Pacino's running at him. And he looks over and he sees Pacino, and then he looks down and he sees this girl, and he's like, yeah, I gotta go, and he starts backing away. And I love how they did her part. She didn't like sit in the car and like, look out the window. She like got out of the car and was just looking at him and could not believe.
Yeah.
Especially after the scene where she wanted nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, if you want to go, it's all good. And then she made the decision, knowing who he was, knowing he was this criminal and this bank robber and all this other stuff, decided to stay with him anyway because she loved him.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he just walks away from her and she's just mortified.
Yeah.
The look of shock on her face is brilliant.
And it was absolutely it was heartbreaking, because I was rooting for De Niro, man. I really liked his character. But this whole underlying storyline in Heat is, from the beginning scene, and that heist kind of with the armored truck, they get this new guy on the crew and he, screws everything up. And when Robert De Niro, his character, tries to take care of him, he ends up running away, and then there's this other threat in the background of everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then towards the end, John Voight lets him know, hey, this guy, that got away, he's at this hotel under this name. If you cared. He's like, yeah, no, I don't. I'm just gonna go to New Zealand with my girl.
I'm just gonna go away.
And you're
like, dude, just do it. Just do it.
And he's going on the freeway, and the music's there. Like, the music is like, all of a sudden it switches, and I definitely was not expecting that, like, at all, because I really felt like his character had grown to that point, and he was like so in love that nothing else was important to him. But then he just detracts. He just goes the other way.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there like, oh no, don't do. I mean,
because at the end of the day, this guy represents, and he was the critical component of destroying his other family, his crew.
Yeah,
he killed his crew.
Yeah,
and he's not going to stand for it. He's got to tie that up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, okay,
you definitely want him to get that revenge on this guy, and the way he does it, the way he kind of goes through the hotel, and it was brilliant. I really, really liked that whole scene. But just the end, it's so sad, so sad. I'm not going to be able to get over that ending. Yeah, no. So, yeah, don't go see Den of Thieves. Watch Heat, because it's 22 years old, and it's
far way better.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's what's so hilarious to me. It's like, come on, Den of Thieves. Like, let's get your story right first. Let's get your story. Let's get your acting. Let's get the basics down. No, you can't even do that. 22 years later, you can't even.
Oh, it starts with a good script.
Starts with
I think the movie had potential. I mean, everything was there.
Potential.
Everything was there. It was just put together poorly.
Yeah, I think it ended up at the wrong studio. I think the writers they definitely butchered it, and yeah, the acting, the quality just wasn't there. I think basically in every department the quality was lacking. So
yeah,
there's a million things.
It's interesting how we're seeing this decline of Gerard Butler. He's almost turning into like a Nicolas Cage. He's doing like these kind of these movies that are just being slowly shelved. Yeah, like here's my prediction. Maybe not the next one, but within his next 3 films, it's going to be direct to DVD. It's not even going to come out in the theater.
Oh, probably.
It's just going to go direct to Redbox or whatever not. Or
well, see, Geostorm and Den of Thieves, they're on the cusp of that.
Yeah,
I feel like they're right. Did
you watch Geostorm?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's really bad.
No, I could tell. I love hearing people's thoughts on the whole thing, but no, I'm not gonna. There are too many good things to waste my time on that. So. Especially when you know it's bad, just don't watch it unless it's.
But sometimes it's like you're bored, and sometimes you're bored and you want to watch a train wreck.
I guess.
It's like, oh my god, look at that car derail.
Yeah. Oh man, how did this even get past? Script supervisor.
But anyways, so that I thought that was a cool kind of thing to do. A little bit of we saw something that was definitely classic, and it's classic for a reason. It's timeless for a reason.
It really set the bar for.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it really is.
And then we got to see a modern day contender, a modern day contender that didn't make it past the first round.
Yeah, no.
Ding ding.
On to the next
Splat.
one. Yeah. No, next.
Anyways, anything else to add?
No, nothing much. I think that's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, hey guys, girls, dogs, cats,
really?
Birds.
No, yeah. just guys and girls.
Just guys and girls, yeah. Den of Thieves, it's okay. If you're bored,
yeah, give it a shot.
Give it a shot. I mean, we paid $7.50 to go see it. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
that's fine. It's okay. If you haven't seen Heat, you're missing out.
Definitely.
You are definitely missing out.
I was definitely
treat yourself.
Out. Yeah, absolutely.
Treat yourself.
But that's basically it. Right. If you guys have any thoughts on the subject, give us an email at postproductionpod@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Adam Scadam on Twitter.
I'm at Mr. Drew LV.
And we're also on YouTube.
Or
Check
on
us out.
YouTube.
Subscribe,
leave us a comment. Like, thumbs up. Thumbs down, Den of Thieves. Thumbs up, Heat.
Yeah, no, just thumbs up us.
Thumbs up us, yeah.
But I think that's about it. We will be back next week with something brand new. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see you then.
Take care, guys.
All right. Bye. Guys.